Good day, students. Welcome to this JSS 1 Social Studies lesson on environmental conservation. Nigeria's environment, its forests, rivers, soils, air, and biodiversity, is under serious threat from deforestation, desertification, oil pollution, plastic waste, and urban growth. Environmental degradation affects every Nigerian directly: floods in Lagos and Ibadan, desertification in Borno and Kebbi, oil spills in Bayelsa, deforestation in Cross River and Ondo. Protecting the environment is not just a scientific concern but a social, economic, and political one. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to define environmental conservation, describe the main environmental problems facing Nigeria, explain the causes of environmental degradation, describe the effects, and identify conservation measures and government policies. Let us begin. What is the environment? The environment is the natural world, air, water, land, forest, wildlife, and climate that surrounds and supports all living things. Environmental conservation is the responsible management and protection of the natural environment to prevent exploitation, degradation, and destruction. Sustainability, using natural resources in ways that meet present needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Brundtland Commission definition, 1987. Nigeria's environmental zones. Nigeria spans several ecological zones from north to south. Sahel savanna, extreme north, Sokoto, Borno, Yobe semi-arid, sparse vegetation, susceptible to desertification. Sudan savanna, north, Kano, Katsina, Zamfara, Niger, Kebbi short grasses and scattered trees, annual rainfall 500 to 1,100 mm. Guinea savanna, middle belt, Borno, Taraba, Plateau, Kwara, Benue, Kogi-Tola grasses, more trees, transitional zone. Derived savanna, southwest, part of southeast, Oyo, Ekiti, Ogun formerly forest, now cleared, secondary vegetation. Tropical rainforest, south, Edo, Ondo, Cross River, rivers, Lagos dense forest, highest rainfall, 1,500 for 000 mm/year, Nigeria's biodiversity hotspot. Mangrove/freshwater swamp, Niger Delta, Lagos Lagoon coastal zone, mangrove forest, extremely biodiverse, most affected by oil spills. Major environmental problems in Nigeria. 1. Deforestation. Definition: clearance of forest land, trees cut faster than they regrow. Causes: logging for timber, charcoal production, primary cooking fuel in rural Nigeria, billions of trees cut annually, agricultural expansion, clearing forests for farms, urban expansion, wildfire. Effects: soil erosion, loss of topsoil reduces agricultural productivity, loss of biodiversity. Cross River has Nigeria's highest biodiversity, thousands of plant, bird, and mammal species threatened. Increased flooding, forests act as water sponges. Without trees, rain runs off quickly, causing floods. Climate change, trees absorb CO2, deforestation releases stored carbon, reduced rainfall. Deforestation reduces moisture cycling. Scale: Nigeria has one of the world's highest deforestation rates, losing approximately 400,000 hectares of forest per year. 2. Desertification. Definition: the process by which fertile land in arid and semi-arid areas becomes increasingly dry and infertile, it turns into desert. Causes: overgrazing, Fulani cattle overgraze sparse vegetation, fuel wood collection, trees cut for firewood and charcoal, poor farming practices, or plowing leaves soil exposed to wind erosion. Climate change, reduced rainfall in the Sahel, human encroachment on marginal lands. Effects: farmland lost to sand dunes. Lake Chad shrinking, has lost 90% of its area since 1960 due to reduced rainfall, irrigation overuse, and climate change. Food insecurity in the north, displacement of communities, contribution to farmer-herder conflicts. Less pasture herders move south into farming areas. Scale: desertification is advancing southward at approximately 0.6 km per year in parts of northern Nigeria. Government response: the Great Green War, an African Union initiative, or Nigeria is a participant, to create an 8,000 km band of restored land across the Sahel from Senegal to Djibouti, NERDC, National Agency for the Reversal of Environmental Desertification. 3. Oil pollution and gas flaring, Niger Delta. Causes: pipeline leaks, oil theft and bunkering, illegal pipeline vandalism to steal oil, spills during oil loading, accidental well blowouts. Effects: soil contamination, crops cannot grow, water pollution, drinking water contaminated, fish die, health impacts, respiratory disease, cancers, loss of fishing and farming livelihoods, ecosystem destruction, mangroves. Key case: Agony crisis, the Agony people, Bori, Rivers State, led by playwright and activist Ken Saro-Wiwa, organized MOSOP, Movement for the Survival of the Agony People, against Shell's pollution of their land. Saro-Wiwa was hanged by the Abacha regime on November 10, 1995, a matter for environmental and minority rights. Gas flaring: billions of dollars of natural gas burned off rather than captured. Nigeria is among the world's top gas flaring nations. NESRIA and FMENV have laws against it, but enforcement is weak. 4. Flooding. Causes: heavy rainfall, especially during the annual rains, July-September, blocked drains, plastic waste, deforestation, climate change, more intense rainfall events, low-lying coastal areas, Lagos, Niger Delta, settlement in floodplains. Impact: annual flooding in Lagos, Ibadan, Kano, Benue, Nigeria's worst floods in 2022, over 600 killed, 1.4 million displaced, triggered by releases from Lagdo Dam in Cameroon on the river Benue. Government response: NISA, Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, flood mapping, Lagos State drainage projects, early warning systems. 5. Plastic waste and solid waste. Causes: 2.5 million tons of plastic waste generated annually, poor waste management infrastructure, lack of recycling culture, proliferation of single-use plastics. Effects: blocked drains, causing flooding, marine pollution, Niger Delta, Lagos Lagoon, Atlantic Ocean, land pollution, health risks, burning plastic releases toxins. Policy: Lagos State ban on single-use plastics, 2020, NESRIA national regulations, growing informal recycling sector. 6. Urban pollution. Air pollution, vehicle exhaust, old, poorly maintained vehicles in Lagos, Abuja, Kano, industrial emissions, generator fumes, DG sets run constantly in Nigeria due to power grid failures, a massive source of air pollution and CO2. Water pollution, industrial effluents discharged into rivers, Lagos Lagoon pollution, untreated sewage. Conservation measures. Legal framework: National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, NESRIA, enforces environmental laws, Federal Ministry of Environment, State Environmental Protection Agencies. Protected areas: National Parks, Cross River MP, Kanji MP, Old Oyo MP, Yankari MP, Gashokagumti MP, Nigeria's largest park, forest reserves, biosphere reserves. Reforestation: planting trees to replace cleared forest, NERDC, afforestation programs in the north. Cleanup operations: HYPREP, hydrocarbon pollution remediation project, government agency cleaning up Ogonaland, slow progress but underway. Individual action: reduce, reuse, recycle, reduce generator use, so solar panels, use public transport, avoid burning waste, plant trees. 3 examination questions. Question 1. Explain desertification in northern Nigeria, stating its causes and effects. Desertification is the process by which fertile semi-arid land becomes increasingly dry, barren, and desert-like. In northern Nigeria, it is advancing southward at approximately 0.6 kilometers per year. Causes: A. Overgrazing. Fulani cattle herds overgraze the sparse Sahel vegetation, removing ground cover and exposing soil to wind erosion. B. Fuelwood collection. Trees cut for firewood and charcoal, primary cooking fuels in rural north, strip the landscape of vegetation, C. Climate change, reduced rainfall in the Sahel due to global warming. D. Poor farming, plowing leaves soil exposed to harmattan winds. Affects. A. Farmland loss to advancing sand dunes, food production declines. B. Lake Chad has shrunk by 90% since 1960, catastrophically affecting fishing communities in Bono and Yobe. C. Communities displaced. D. More intense farmer-herder conflicts as herders move south seeking pasture. Question 2. Who was Ken Saro-Wiwa and why is he significant in Nigeria's environmental history? Ken Saro-Wiwa, 1941 to 1995, was a Nigerian writer, television producer, and environmental activist from the Ogoni people of Rivers State. He founded and led MOSOP, Movement for the Survival of the Ogoni People, which organized peaceful resistance to Shell's oil operations in Ogoniland, campaigns against oil spills that destroyed Ogoni farmland and water supplies, and against gas flaring that poisoned the air. He was arrested by the Abacha military government, convicted by a special military tribunal widely condemned as a kangaroo court, and hanged on November 10, 1995, along with 8 other Ogoni activists, the Ogoni 9. Significance. A. His execution caused international outcry. Nigeria was suspended from the Commonwealth. B. He became a global symbol of the struggle for indigenous peoples' environmental and human rights. C. The Shell-MOSOP conflict inspired international attention to corporate environmental accountability in Africa. D. His legacy continues. HYPREP, Ogoniland Cleanup, was partly a response to his movement's work. Question 3. State 4 conservation measures that can protect Nigeria's environment. A. Protected areas, establishing and enforcing national parks, Cross River, Yankari, Gashoka Gumti, forest reserves, and marine protected areas that restrict logging, hunting, and human settlement. B. Reforestation and afforestation, planting trees to replace cleared forest, NERDC programs in the north, community tree planting campaigns, contributing to the African Union's Great Green Wall Initiative. C. Pollution control legislation, NESRIA enforcing laws against industrial dumping. Gas flaring and oil spills, heavier penalties for polluters. D. Waste management, expanding recycling infrastructure, banning single-use plastics, Lagos 2020 policy, improving municipal solid waste collection and sanitary landfills to prevent drain blockages and environmental contamination. 3 common mistakes. Mistake 1. Treating environmental conservation as only about plants and animals. Environmental conservation is also about human communities, the Ogoni people losing their livelihoods to oil spills, northern farmers losing land to desertification, Lagos residents flooded due to blocked drains. Environmental degradation is a social justice issue that affects the poorest Nigerians most severely. Always connect environmental problems to their human impacts. Mistake 2. Saying Nigeria has no environmental laws. Nigeria has substantial environmental legislation, the Environmental Impact Assessment Act, 1992, NESRIA Act, 2007, Oil Spill Regulation, Gas Flaring Regulations. The Petroleum Industry Act of 2021 includes environmental provisions. The problem is enforcement. Laws exist but are poorly enforced due to corruption, weak regulatory capacity, and political influence of oil companies. This distinction between law on paper and enforcement in practice is important. Mistake 3. Forgetting the international dimension of Nigeria's environmental challenges. Desertification is driven partly by global climate change, not just local actions. The flooding of Benue in 2022 was worsened by water released from Cameroon's Lagdo Dam, a transboundary problem. Nigeria's gas flaring contributes to global greenhouse gas emissions. Environmental conservation requires both domestic policy and international cooperation. Summary. Environment, natural world that supports life. Conservation, responsible management to prevent degradation. Sustainability, meeting present needs without compromising future generations. Ecological zones, Sahel, Sudan savanna, Guinea savanna, derived savanna, tropical rainforest, mangrove swamp. Environmental problems, deforestation, 400,000 hectares per year, loss of biodiversity, erosion, flooding, desertification, North, advancing south 0.6 kilometers per year, Lake Chad 90% shrunk, overgrazing plus climate change, oil pollution, Niger Delta, agony crisis, Ken-Sa-Waiwa, hyperop cleanup, gas flaring, flooding, Lagos, Benue 2022, 600 plus deaths, 1.4 m displaced, plastic waste, 2.5 m tons/year, urban air pollution, generators, Nigeria's grid failure. Conservation, NESRIA, national parks, reforestation, NERDC, Great Green Wall, hyperop, Lagos plastic ban, individual action. For homework, A. Describe 3 environmental problems in Nigeria with their causes and effects. B. Explain who Ken-Sa-Waiwa was and why he is significant. C. State 4 conservation measures. Attempt a quiz on your LMS. Protect Nigeria's environment, it is our inheritance and our legacy. Visit Litech Academy at academy.litech.com.ng. Until next time.